She wasn't sick. That's the first thing the pathologist noticed. No terminal diagnosis, no obvious risk factors. Her last blood test showed normal cholesterol. She exercised 3 times a week. She cooked her own food, mostly. She switched from butter to vegetable oil in 1987 because her doctor told her to. She was 71 years old. And when they opened her up, her arteries looked like someone who had smoked for 40 years. What the pathologist found, what keeps showing up in seniors who did everything right, is not what you've been told to look for. It's not red meat. It's not salt. It's not even cholesterol. It's something sitting in your kitchen right now. Something with a green label that says heart healthy. Something you've probably been using for longer than you can remember. And if you're over 55, there's a very good chance it's been accumulating in your tissue for decades, right now, while you watch this. This isn't a one-off case. Forensic pathologists, the doctors who literally open bodies and catalog what killed them, have been noticing a pattern for years. A specific kind of arterial damage. A specific compound, oxidized and embedded in the vessel walls. In senior after senior. In people who followed the guidelines. In people who trusted the system. The compound has a name. It's called oxidized linoleic acid. And it is the primary fat in almost every vegetable oil, seed oil, and heart-healthy cooking oil sold in the United States. In 2024, researchers confirmed something that should have been front-page news. Compared to people living before seed oils became common, people today have more than twice as much linoleic acid stored in their body fat. Twice as much. In the tissue, in the cell membranes, in the arterial walls. And unlike a meal that passes through you in 24 hours, this fat stays. Studies show it has a biological half-life measured in years inside human tissue. Which means, if you've been using vegetable oil or canola oil for 20, 30, 40 years, the evidence of that choice is inside your body right now. And it's been building since the Reagan administration. What is it? Seed oils. Canola oil, vegetable oil, soybean oil, sunflower oil, corn oil. The things with light and pure and heart-healthy on the label. The oil that replaced butter in American kitchens starting in the 1970s. The oil in virtually every packaged food on every shelf in every grocery store you've ever been in. Here's what the label doesn't tell you. Canola oil. Arguably the most trusted name in healthy cooking, was originally developed as an industrial lubricant. During World War II, Canada produced it in massive quantities to grease naval machinery. It wasn't designed as food. It wasn't tested as food. It was reformulated and rebranded as food because of an agricultural surplus, and then the marketing industry did the rest. Soybean oil? In 1909, Americans consumed almost none of it. By 2000, it had become the single largest source of fat in the American diet, accounting for roughly 7% of all calories consumed. Nothing in human evolutionary history resembles that. Our bodies have never encountered these oils at this scale, not even close. And here's the mechanism, the thing that makes this specific to people over 55. Linoleic acid, the primary fat in seed oils, is chemically unstable. It oxidizes. When it oxidizes inside your body, inside your arteries, it creates compounds that the vessel wall reads as an injury. The body tries to repair the injury, sends in cholesterol, sends in calcium, builds a patch. We call those patches plaques. We call that process atherosclerosis. We call the end result a heart attack or a stroke. But it gets worse when you cook with it. At room temperature, seed oils oxidize slowly, over months, sitting in your pantry. But when you heat them, when that oil hits the pan, the oxidation doesn't just accelerate. It becomes a different category of event entirely. Heated seed oils produce toxic compounds called aldehydes, specifically 4-hydroxynonenal and malondialdehyde. These aren't trace amounts. A study out of De Montfort University found that when common vegetable oils were heated to frying temperature, aldehyde levels in the cooking fumes alone exceeded safe limits set by the World Health Organization. Aldehydes are the same class of compounds found in cigarette smoke. They damage DNA. They cross the blood-brain barrier. And every time you turn on your stove and heat that pan, you are producing them in your kitchen, and breathing them in, and eating them. The people who figured this out first weren't doctors. They were chefs. Professional cooks who noticed that refined seed oils in restaurant kitchens left a thick, sticky residue on exhaust hoods and surfaces that animal fats never did. That residue is polymerized oxidized fat. In the research literature, the same compounds are found in arterial plaque. Think about what that means. The same substance coating your kitchen exhaust hood, inside your arteries. Here's the part that should make you angry. You didn't choose seed oils because you were careless. You chose them because every institution that was supposed to protect you told you to. Your doctor told you butter causes heart disease. The American Heart Association told you to use vegetable oil. The government's dietary guidelines from 1980 onward pointed you directly away from saturated fat and toward these oils. There was no way to avoid them even if you'd wanted to. But here's what you weren't told. The original research that blamed saturated fat for heart disease, the foundation of 50 years of dietary guidelines, has since been largely discredited. The researcher who built that case, Ansel Keys, cherry-picked data from 7 countries that supported his theory. He had data from 22 countries. The data from the other 15 contradicted him. He buried it. It also later emerged that the sugar industry paid researchers in the 1960s to shift the blame for heart disease away from sugar and onto fat. Internal documents, uncovered and published in a major medical journal in 2016, showed those payments clearly. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is documented, peer-reviewed history. And the Minnesota Coronary Experiment, a study conducted in the 1960s on over 9,000 participants that showed replacing saturated fat with seed oils actually increased the risk of death, was completed in 1973. It wasn't published until 2016. 43 years, because the results were inconvenient. You followed the advice. You trusted the science. You did everything right. The science was bought, and the people who bought it are still selling you the same oil. Here's what the doctors who know about this actually do. They don't use seed oils. Not at home. Not if they can help it at restaurants. And they haven't for years. What they cook with instead are the fats that have an actual track record. Fats that humans ate for thousands of years before the vegetable oil industry existed. Fats whose molecular structures are inherently stable when exposed to heat. Butter and ghee, especially from grass-fed sources. Beef tallow, which was the standard in American restaurant cooking until McDonald's switched to vegetable oil in 1990. Coconut oil for medium heat. Extra virgin olive oil used cold or at low heat, never for frying. Avocado oil for anything high temperature. These fats are either saturated or monounsaturated. They don't have the same vulnerable chemical bonds. They don't produce the same aldehydes when heated. Your great-grandmother cooked with these. Heart disease at the rates we see today was rare in her generation. And here's what the research shows about reversal. A study out of the University of Sherbrooke found that in seniors who shifted away from processed oils toward polyphenol-rich fats, measurable arterial inflammation dropped significantly in just 6 months. 6 months! Not surgery, not medication, kitchen changes. The linoleic acid stored in your tissue does clear. It clears slowly over 2 to 4 years of consistent dietary change, but it clears. The body is not a passive victim of what it's been given. Given different inputs, it does different things. Wait, before you go throw away your cooking oil, there's something you don't know yet. Something that makes the kitchen swap alone not enough. Even if you never buy another bottle of canola oil again, you're still being exposed, every single day, often without realizing it. Soybean oil accounts for approximately 7% of total caloric intake for the average American. It's in bread, crackers, protein bars, salad dressings, frozen meals, mayonnaise. It's in food that doesn't even taste oily. It's in things labeled natural and made with real ingredients, and restaurants. If you eat at a restaurant, any restaurant, more than once a week, you are almost certainly consuming seed oils with every meal, including the healthy ones, including the salads, including the grilled fish. The economics of commercial kitchens are absolute. Seed oils are cheap, shelf-stable, and flavorless. There is no restaurant incentive to use anything else. This is why the researchers who study tissue linoleic acid are alarmed even in people who believe they eat well. The food supply has been saturated so thoroughly that individual kitchen behavior is necessary, but not sufficient. What actually works? Cook from scratch more than you think you need to. Read ingredient labels if you see vegetable oil, soybean oil, canola oil, sunflower oil, or corn oil in the first 5 ingredients, put it back. And when you eat out, ask what they cook with. Most restaurants will tell you, and most of the answer will surprise you. Remember the woman we told you about at the beginning, 71 years old, normal cholesterol, exercised 3 times a week, switched from butter to vegetable oil in 1987 because a doctor she trusted told her to. She didn't know. That's the thing that gets you about these cases. Not that people were reckless, not that they ignored their health, the opposite. The people who show up on the pathology table with this kind of damage are often the ones who tried the hardest, who followed every guideline, who trusted the institutions that were supposed to be watching out for them. You deserve to know what those institutions didn't tell you. The kitchen swap we talked about takes 10 minutes. 1 trip to the grocery store, butter where the canola was, avocado oil where the vegetable oil was, olive oil in the salad dressing. That's it. That's the whole intervention. Not a supplement, not a prescription, not a protocol that costs anything. Just a different fat in a different bottle, based on 100 years of evidence that existed long before anyone tried to sell you something else. She made that switch 2 years ago. Her daughter told us she wishes she'd known sooner. If you've been doing everything right and still feel like something isn't adding up, you're probably correct. Subscribe, because what we cover here is what the guidelines don't. And if someone in your life is still cooking with vegetable oil every single day, send them this video. It might be the most important thing you do for them this week.